Is this a monumental moment where the Democratic Party got a black eye the way the Republican Party got a black eye in 1960, 1964 with Barry Goldwater, where the Republicans went from having 64% of the African-American voters voting for Democrat. The other side would be Republican. It went from 64 in 1960 to 92 in 1964, and they lost the black vote until 2024.
Yeah.
So do you think this was a catastrophic event for the Democratic Party in 2024, or no, it's just normal ebbs and flows, it goes back and forth? That's what I'm trying to see, especially for someone like you.
Look, I think that the country is so much more divided. There are so many fewer votes that are up for grabs today than there were 50 years ago in the United States. I mean, at the end of the day, you're talking about a very small number of people in a very small number of districts, and otherwise, people are reliably red and they're reliably blue. It's very hard to flip most of those people, most of those places. There are a lot more independents in the United States now than there were before, but those independents reliably lean with a party or another, even if they're not a part of that party or
That's
another.
fair, yeah.
So I think that what we are talking about right now is a country that that has most of its population that has decided that they are on Team A or Team B, and the other team is an enemy. And that's a serious problem, right? Now, it was at least really good in 2024 that nobody thought the election was rigged. It was good that everyone accepts that Trump is actually the president.
I don't know if I think 2025, the other side think the other side's the enemy. I actually don't believe that right now. I believe that the last 5 years, I don't believe that right now. Let me give you an idea why.
Yeah.
And I'll push back. Bezos goes have a good meeting. Wall Street Journal this week. If you go to WSJ's YouTube channel, to YouTube channel, they interviewed Bill Gates. I don't know if you saw that.
I saw it. Yeah.
12-minute interview.
Said good things about Trump.
You said good things about Trump.
Of course.
Can you imagine like a world where, this was 5 days ago. It's actually a very good interview. I watch. I'm like, okay, good.
That's very different from the average American. Bill Gates is.
But that's not what I'm saying. No, what I'm saying to you is, for a guy like him to go to the other side, for TikTok to get kids and younger boys to go to the other side, you're supporting who? To get, African American numbers where the CNN host is watching this guy giving the stats, and she's like, that can't be right. That's the numbers. Are you joking? Yes. Even Kamala Harris, the worst with African-American voters for the last 4 Democratic presidents. That can't be real. That's the real numbers. See, I think this was a place where, Rogan said something the other day.
Yeah.
I actually really like what he said. He says, I still am not a Republican. He says, I'm still an independent. He says, there's some things I agree with the left. Sure. There's some things I agree with the right. But to him, he saw more common sense and sanity on Trump's side than the other side. This doesn't mean where 2 years ago when I'm on his podcast, episode 216, whatever it was, a year and a half ago, he had no plans of having Trump on. Yeah. And then on Lex Friedman is like, I'll never have him on. I'll never have him on.
Look, I think it's a bigger win, and there's no question.
But I think I don't think it's a win. I don't think it's just a win. The part I'm trying to ask from you is, I think it's a real shift. Like I truly, we haven't had a third party competitor in a long time since Ross Perot. Whatever, 19 points, 20 points,
right.
Whatever the number was.
Right.
And every year it's, we need an independent party. We need a third party. Oh, okay, great. Eventually someone's going to say, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat. I think something happened right now. I really think 2020, because when I'm talking to guys right now who are left, right, center, I run an insurance company, and we got agents that are regular guys that do what they do. And so they're not rich people. These are insurance agents that are making $2, $3, $4, $5 grand. And then we got some people that make millions. But some of these guys are making $60,000, $50,000, $100,000. You're talking to them. It's a very different vibe I get when Trump's name comes up than the level of hate and anger they had towards him in 2018, 19, 20, 2021. They hated this guy in 2018, 19. They thought he was the Antichrist. And now they're like, look, still don't like the guy, but I don't hate him. I actually think I'm happy he's a president. It's a very different language you hear. That's the part where I'm saying I don't know if we're as divided today as we were 2 or 3 years ago.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right. I don't see that in the United States now. I don't see that around the world right now. I think that Trump's impulses, of course, are still very much about finding people that are the enemy, and I'm going to win, and we're going to win together, and we're going to go after these people. I think that Elon does the same thing, and not just domestically, but also around the world. I think it works. It produces algorithmically. You know, you get clicks on the basis of much stronger emotions than you do long-form nuance and engaging in civil society. And a lot of Americans are hurting. A lot of average Americans, a lot of young men in the United States don't feel like they're doing well, don't feel like people are taking care of them, and they're angry at stuff. And, you know, what can you do? You go after. I mean, 30,000, talk about Guantanamo, and I'm going to set up 30,000, you know, a camp for 30,000 people. Does he need to do that? No. Can the cruelty be the point in going after folks? Yeah, it helps because they want to say, you're responsible for my pain, and I'm going to do something about that. So I think that all of these things play because there's a lot of hurt. There's a lot of feeling of isolation. There's a lot of Americans that are spending much less time with other Americans and instead are being intermediated through their phones, and I think that's a problem. And I think that MAGA has managed to create something that people can aspire and connect to when the family's broken down and when the church is broken down and when public schools aren't doing so well. Our economy is doing fantastically well at the macro level, but the average American, I think, is still feeling like they're hurting. So I have a hard time seeing America not being as divided until we start fixing those issues. Those are long-term structural issues. I don't think we're getting closer on that. I also worry that we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater when the United States, I've never seen a time, I mean, you've been talking a lot about the U.S. over the last 15, 20 minutes. I spend most of my time talking outside the U.S. about what's happening in the rest of the world. The United Nations, the World Health Organization, all of these organizations, we created them. The United States, after World War II, the World Bank, the IMF, right? NATO, we created them with our values and our allies because we recognize that long-term we have a democracy. Our system is messy. You go from one president to a different types of ideas and policies. But that if we could create institutions where, yes, we'd be responsible and we'd do more, maybe in some cases than our fair share, we'd pay more, we'd be more engaged, we'd show leadership, but long-term we would benefit from that. But if the average American doesn't believe that they benefit from that, they're going to say, screw you. We shouldn't support that anymore. We don't like the UN. We don't like the WHO. We don't like any of these organizations because you're not taking care of us.
But do you know why they don't like the UN? Do you know why they don't like NATO? Do you know why they don't like World Health Organization?
I do.
Why?
Well, I mean, there are different reasons, but the main reason they don't like them is because they feel like the United States is getting rolled by a whole bunch of countries that aren't taking care of themselves and want the Americans to pay for it.
But that's a different idea than what it was when NATO first got started. Why did NATO first get started? It got started because of Russia, USSR, right? You know,
of course.
Why is NATO needed today? And so do they need to so the part with the average person, see what Trump did is, Trump asked interesting questions that prompted everybody to go in, search. He asked the questions like a business owner asks. You're running a business since 1998, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what your revenue is. I don't know how many employees do you guys have?
250.
Okay, you got 250 employees.
Yeah.
You have a board. You know.
I own it, so I mean, I started it.
Okay, but do you have a board where you sit and talk to people and have counsel, or no? You don't have a board.
No.
Okay, so, but 250 employees. 250 employees. It's a legitimate sized company you got. It's not a small business. Okay, yeah. So what do? Don't you sit there and say, the other day my CTO comes up to me, he says, do you know we pay subscription to 900 different things? I said, what? Why? Who signed up for this? Well, you had one employee that kept subscribing to everything. He's no longer here, so we're looking at the credit card. Let me tell you, we're learning so many different things because we're asking questions. Subscribe. Asking nobody. Subscribe. 900 subscription to different things. So then I'm asking questions. What are some questions I want to ask? On which credit card were the subscriptions prompted first? Data rolls it, and you'll see boom, 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 boom. Oh, shit. 293 came from this one employee? Which one of them were approved? Okay, maybe we approved those, but what is this? Great. How about this other person? How about that other person? Which one of these do we even know what we use for? Out of the 900, we probably don't even need 50% of them, right? So that person who should be these payments going through, he should approve these. That guy did it without getting the approval. Okay, we have to change the, prompt. And then you change the prompts, right? Okay. What did Trump do? Trump asked questions that a CEO like you asks. Any reason why we're giving $350 million to World Health Organization with 340 million people living here while China's giving 39 million, give or take, and they have 1.5 billion? Very good question. Any reason why we're giving more money to NATO to protect them while we're not worried about our borders? Why aren't all these other countries giving? And they're like, oh, shit, nobody's been asking guys to start giving more money.
And useful for them to be giving more money and pushing on
but
that. Absolutely.
But what I'm saying is, when you're saying we started these things as a form of imposing our values and principles, the challenge then happens is what? You're like, even right now when Trump said, I think we buy 50% of TikTok and 50% of TikTok goes to an owner in U.S. and I'm going to give you a license. I'm not a fan of that. Why? I don't want the government to own 50% of TikTok. Why not? I trust it under Trump. I don't trust it under who's going to be president next. I don't trust it on 2 presidents from now. So even though we're creating these world economic
and this is an important thing, is that in 4 years' time, Trump is not president anymore. So, I mean, as much as he can impose all sorts of ideas and will, that a lot of people are going to say, I like this. The reality is the law of the jungle driven by Trump with all of these things saying you do it my way or you're in serious trouble. When that stops and you have a different leader, Republican or Democrat, don't care, but they're not going to have that ability. They're not. He's a unique figure in that regard.
They're not going to have that ability.
They're not. And so, but then you don't have the same institutional heft to ensure that people otherwise behave, that we're aligned with the Americans. You're going to lose something. Right. So that's important.
It is important, but go back to what we discussed. So a lot of these organizations that may have started with the right cause have now turned into a political, abuse of their power. And hey, we need more money. Let me send you more money. Don't worry about it. I got you. We'll send you more money. We'll send you more money. No, we're not sending you more money. And now World Health Organization could potentially be shutting down. They're begging other people for money. Why are we going to do this? We're not going to be doing this. I love that. I love that part of coming in and asking, hey, any reason why?
I like asking. I don't like breaking.
Okay, so here's another question to ask.
That is the difference.
You're 250 employees. How many of them work from home?
Everyone is 3 days a week in the office.
And where are you based out of?
New York, but that's 90 of them.
And then the other guys are all
offices all over the world,
So, and most of them, what do they do? Are most of them doing research? Are they writing? What's their job?
Yeah, probably a solid half are direct analysts in some fashion.
Okay.
And then you've got, people, you've got tech people, and you've got HR people, and da-da-da-da.
Do you have a system to track people's behavior that the work is being put in?
Sure, of course. Many.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So here's
it's a company. It's not the government.
I get, brother, what I'm, like the part that...
Like, do I think the government is inefficient? Yes, I do. Do I think that we should break everything and ask questions later? No, I want us to ask questions first and then break. That's the difference. That's the difference.
You're not going to have time because you got 2 years only till midterms.
Oh, no, my God. Look, I mean, I think that you want to ask questions about Greenland? We can ask questions first. Ask them with our ally, Denmark. Don't break things first and then go and ask the questions. Because you're going to damage stuff.
You're talking to a guy that is been doing this for 78 years and it's worked.
I know.
Right.
I know. In a different environment.
We got 2 million government employees, of which only 6% come to the office every day.
Horrible. I said publicly, I tweeted publicly when they said everyone's going to work on every day. I said, if Doge does nothing else, do that and it's a win.
I mean, this is the
I completely agree.
Right. Nowadays, more than ever, the brand you wear reflects and represents who you are. So for us, if you wear a Future Looks Bright hat or a Valuetainment gear, you're telling the world, I'm optimistic. I'm excited about what's going to be happening, but you're a free thinker. You question things. You like debate. And by the way, last year, 120,000 people got a piece of Future Looks Bright gear with Valuetainment. We have so many new things. The cufflinks are here. New Future Looks Bright. This is my favorite, the green one. Just yesterday, somebody placed an order for 100 of these. If you watch the PBD podcast, you got a bunch to choose from. White ones, black ones. If you smoke cigars and you come to our cigar lounge, we have this high quality lighter cutter and a holder for the cigars. We got sweaters. with the Valuetainment logo on it. We got mugs. We got a bunch of different things. But if you believe the future looks bright, if you follow our content and what we represent with Valuetainment, with PVD Podcast, go to vtmerch.com. And by the way, if you order right now, there's going to be a special VT gift inside just for you. So again, go to vtmerch.com, place your order, tell the world that you believe the future looks bright. If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.